say the Yankees got the $600 million, but then the Mets came in and said, we'll give you $650. Is $50 million enough at that point to sway him to the Mets, or does he say, you know what, 600's enough, I'm going back to the Yankees?
Well, $50 million would be enough for me to sway me. You know.
I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top and keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. The good life. Good life. Oh, good life. Good life. Good life.
Boom! Coming in hot, Chichi. I jumped the gun. I'm so excited that our buddy's on today.
I know, you're so excited. We have the perfect guest for today in the hot stove, and Casey almost jumped the gun on the countdown clock.
Dude, it couldn't be more perfect to have our man, Johnny Heyman, come in and join us today with the big signing from the Dodgers today. So, Johnny, thanks for coming in and joining us, man. And right off the bat, dude, I mean, fresh news of Snell going to the Dodgers for 5 years, $180 million. Did you see this coming?
Well, we figured the Dodgers were one of the teams in on Snell. All along, I thought the Dodgers, Giants, Yankees would be most likely. Yankees focused completely on Soto at this moment, so not shocked he's going to the Dodgers. A little surprised it happened this quickly. Boy, that is quite a rotation that they have at this point, and I'm counting on them to get Sasaki. We shall see. They are certainly a heavy favorite there, and I mean, look at that rotation that they've gotten. Kershaw will be coming back to them, I'm sure, but Yamamoto, Glass now, Gonsolin, Hill, I'm leaving guys out. They have
Stone, Miller.
It's unbelievable. They got like 8 guys who throw 98 and above, and then they'll have Kershaw who still gets people out throwing 90. I mean, they're almost too good at this point.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Listen, the other guy I want to talk about, obviously Snell. That's a huge fish that they landed there. But Sasaki coming over from Japan. Can you tell us about him a little bit, Johnny? And what teams do you think will be in on him? We obviously know the Dodgers are probably the front runners, but what other teams have a shot?
I'd say the Padres do. He's allegedly loves Yu Darvish, and obviously Darvish a Padre at this point, and they certainly play for all of these guys and try hard, and they'll give it their best shot. They're obviously a really good team. They came within 2 runs. They're in Game 5. I covered that game, and the Dodgers had to win 2 elimination games to get the Padres out, and they beat the Mets in 6th and the Yankees in 5 and showed that they're the best team, but the Padres came the closest of anybody. And so they're an outstanding team. San Diego's a beautiful place, and he loves Yu Darvish. So, this is one of those situations where it's not going to be about the money, although the Dodgers have a little bit more international money than other teams do, so they have the advantage there. Not going to be about the money. He's not a full free agent. It's going to be about where he wants to be, and that's the word on the street, that the Dodgers are the favorite. I mean, to have Yamamoto and Snell, and I mean, it's too much.
Sasaki,
it's almost too much. It's too much.
And don't forget, Ohtani's coming back.
Right. Well, now there's no timetable on that as far as him as being a pitcher yet, and I don't think he'll be back right at the beginning of the year, but he'll certainly be back at some point, and they'll be ready for the playoffs. And I mean, can you imagine, Ohtani as your number 4 starter? I say that facetiously. He's probably the best one, but they're all great. So,
but there are a lot of ones. There's a lot of number 1s.
Absolutely.
In that situation right now.
It's crazy. Also, the pitching market, I mean, with Kikuchi got more than, I think, maybe a little overpaid. Is Manaea the guy sitting there right now going, oh, man, I'm getting more than I thought?
Right.
Severino, guys like that?
I would say Manaea and Fried are the 2 guys that stand out because we've had the 2 lefties come off the board, right? So you've got Manaea, who was pitched like an ace for the second half. I know he kind of ran out of gas a little bit by that World Series, but pitched like an ace in that second half. And Fried, who has a lifetime ERA plus of 139, 8th all-time. I mean, this is a terrific pitcher. Right now they are sitting pretty, those 2 in particular, but I would say all of the pitchers from Boyd on up are going to do great. You know, obviously Burns and Snell are at the top of that list, but, you know, Manaea is going to be paid quite handsomely as well. Severino, I mean, it's a pretty good list, but, you know, everybody but Seattle and Philly really need starting pitching.
Any word on like who you think of those guys? Who are the Yankees are really want to go after? I know Snell was in the conversation. Is Burns at the top there? I mean, are they definitely going to try and land one of those guys?
Well, I would say if they sign Soto, obviously that's the big fish. If they sign Soto, they're less likely. I don't want to eliminate anything. You know, you never like to take a chance. Who knows what they may do after that? But if you spend $600 million plus, and it might even be $700 million on Soto, you know, I mean, their rotation's pretty good as is. I mean, it's not comparable to the Dodgers, but and if they want to keep up with the Dodgers, maybe they do then still sign a Burns or a Fried. But at this point, I would say if they don't sign Soto, and there are still at least 5 teams in the mix for Soto, I would say they'd be very likely to end up with either Burns or Fried at that point. At this point, I would still say they have a shot at one or the other.
Johnny, in your opinion, because obviously you're right there in New York, you're covering the Yankees and all that, do you think the right call is to sign Soto? I mean, you're talking about $600 million probably.
Yeah.
You already have Judge signed for whatever, $360 million or whatever he's signed for. You know, is the right call to sign Soto and then, you know, maybe not have that payroll flexibility, even though you are the Yankees?
Well, I'd put it this way. I mean, they made the World Series for the first time in 15 years with Soto, right? That's number one. Number two, gives them that historic lefty-righty great combination. The Yankees are known for having great offensive players. Obviously, Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle at the top of that, but certainly the combination of with Gehrig and Ruth together, the combination of Mantle and Maris together, and obviously you have Soto and Judge. And Soto had his best full year ever with Judge batting behind him, and I know he loved having Judge behind him, and he loved being in that clubhouse. So I think that gives them 2 pretty good advantages there to get him. I mean, you know, I'm not a financial analyst, so it's going to be a little tricky. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, with $600 million, for $600 million, you could get Burns, Alonso, Santander, and Bregman." Well, not really, because Soto, let's say he makes $45 million or even $50 million in a year. Those 4 guys for that year will probably make $90 million. So, you know, they'll be in the double the tax situation. So you're really not going to be able to spend that full $600 million. Let's remember the Soto contract would be spread out probably over 15 years. So in terms of the tax, it's not apples to apples. It's going to be, I can't see how you can sign 4 stars to replace him. Could they potentially sign 3? Maybe, but even that to me is a stretch. I think if you add $65 million, you know, you're paying double once that tax, 110% tax. I think that's tough. So, I mean, I get what people are saying. They should spend the $600 million on these guys, but spending that $600 million over the next 4 or 5 years is different than spending it over the next 15 years.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Do you think, Johnny? Do you think? Because I really do think Soto loved being a Yankee, and I do think that obviously it was a perfect fit for him there. The way the fans, you know, loved him, the way they went to the World Series, everything like that. But obviously there's going to be some big bidders. And Stevie Cohen, I actually think the Red Sox are in, and I think they want a star player to go with Devers, and I think he would be great there at Fenway. I think the Dodgers are in. You know, obviously you know better than I do. But is there a number? I was thinking about this because is there a number you have to go over? Like, say the Yankees got to $600 million, but then the Mets came in and said, we'll give you $650. Is $50 million enough at that point to sway him to the Mets, or does he say, you know what, 600 is enough, I'm going back to the Yankees?
Well, $50 million would be enough for me to sway me. I think we just went through 2 unusual situations where we had all-time great players, really, with Judge and Ohtani, who are not about the money, you know, not that interested in money. I mean, we saw how interested Ohtani is in money, right? He had his best friend steal $17 million out from under him, and he didn't care. Right, so he's not about the money at all, right? He was not a money guy. Judge, same thing. He could have gotten more money, San Francisco, San Diego. Not all about that. Most of these guys take the best deal, and there's nothing wrong with that. You've earned your way to free agency, and I think Ohtani and Judge were the exceptions. I think he will likely take the best deal. And it certainly, I mean, if it's $5 million difference or $10 million, maybe not. But at that point, I think they'll match. But $50 million, I don't think he leaves $50 million on the table. I mean, I think Ohtani and Judge did, but I don't believe that Soto or 95% of the other star free agents would leave $50 million on the table. My opinion.
In your opinion, Johnny, where do you think he lands?
Well, it's a fluid situation. I've told every podcast I've been on, including my own, I've suggested the Mets have a good chance. Today, this morning, as we talk about it now, if you had to guess, I wouldn't be shocked if he went back to the Yankees. I really wouldn't. I think the Yankees are trying hard, and I agree with you that he loved the clubhouse. I think he loved the bleacher roll call. I don't believe that he's eliminated the West Coast, so I'm not eliminating the Dodgers. I have heard, and this is third hand, that he loved living in San Diego. He just didn't love the clubhouse dynamic in San Diego, and he loved the actual living in San Diego. So I don't think we can rule out the Dodgers based on geography. I don't believe that. Toronto certainly got the wherewithal to do it. Boston is certainly trying hard. They have a rich history. I heard they had a good meeting, and it's certainly the Mets with Steve Cohen. You got to figure they've got a shot, and they seem extremely, extremely motivated. I mean, even though I think he loved living in San Diego the best, I'm going to call it basically a toss-up today between Yankees and Mets.
The Red Sox are interesting, though, because Sean and I have been talking all year. Like, they made one of the monumentally worse decisions by letting Mookie Betts leave that franchise.
Absolutely.
And they got to watch him on the biggest stage in the world this year be what he still is. We forget that he's one of the greatest players in the world. And you wonder if the Red Sox are like, we really need to make up for that mistake at some point over the next few years. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think they felt like they were making up with it with the Devers deal, giving him that $300 million, and that doesn't do it. I mean, Rafael Devers is a great hitter. He's not Mookie Betts. He's not even close to Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, in my mind, is an all-time great. He's got 3 World Series rings now as a star of all those teams. Now, obviously, Dodgers have many stars, but they've won 2 rings since they let him go. And you're absolutely right. That is a monumentally. It's an excellent word. This is how you got that Ivy League education, Chinch. That's an outstanding word. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, terrible move, and they seem very, very motivated. I don't know what happened to them in the last 4 or 5 years. They kind of took it off and didn't do anything, and we were all expecting them to. Their revenues are great. They've won more championships than anybody since 2000. I know they've sold them on hitting the ball to left field. I mean, everyone talks about the short porch. Well, he's not really a pull hitter. His OPS was like 57 points higher on the road than it was at Yankee Stadium this year. So Fenway probably fits him better, but I mean, I don't think he's a guy, even though he loved the roll call, he loved a lot of things about New York, I don't think he loves drama. And going from New York to Boston, I think, could that be an issue for him? Might be. I don't know that he's going to like the reception that he'll be getting if he goes to the Red Sox. I did hear they did a great job, and they have a lot of good selling points. But they have come up short on a lot of these guys so far, and they need that left-handed pitcher pretty badly. They were in on Kikuchi. They were in on Snell. Fried's still sitting out there. Manaea's still sitting out there. I mean, they're going to have to get somebody. If it's not Soto, maybe one of those pitchers.
Yeah, Johnny, a couple other guys I just want to touch on before you go is Alex Bregman. Where do you think he fits? Willie Adames, I think he's a guy that this guy I think he's a sleeper out there. 30 home runs. This guy can flat out hit. Great in the clubhouse. And also, where's Pete Alonso going to go?
Yep, let me take the first 2. Love both players. Willie Adames is outstanding hitter and great in the clubhouse, was an inspirational leader of the Brewers. The teams that really pursued him the hardest, as in trade talks, were the Giants, the Braves, and the Dodgers. Now, I'm going to say at this point, the Dodgers right now have, 5 guys who could play shortstop. So do they really need Willie Adames? I mean, I can't say. Mookie Betts is now on the infield working out at shortstop right now. I think he ultimately will be their second baseman, but they've got Edman, they've got him, they've got Rojas, they've got Taylor, they've got Kike Hernandez if you want to go to a 5th guy. So I mean, to me, it should be the Giants or the Braves among those teams. It doesn't feel like the Giants are really doing a ton, so I'm going to say the Braves make sense. Now, he, like Bregman, is willing to switch positions and go to third base. That could open up Boston, New York, either New York team for him. Bregman, a tough guy. He's loved it in Houston. They've made an offer. It isn't quite what he wants. I think that the New York teams, both of them would fit Bregman. He certainly would thrive there, I believe. I think he's not a guy who would shy away from New York. I know I've read that he's willing to go to second base. I mean, do you really want to sign a great third baseman to play second base? I don't see the point of that. I think he's a third baseman, and that's him. So, and Alonso, I think we're going to have to wait and figure it out by the end. I think it's going to take a while to see what happens. We certainly have to see what goes on with Soto first. That's probably true of a lot of these guys, right? So there are 5 teams that are right now pursuing Soto. Can they really go out and sign a big star? Well, the Dodgers did, but can the others? I'm not sure that they will. I think they're looking at Soto first. So I think Alonso will be later. Certainly the Mets have a shot to bring him back. You've heard Washington, I believe that. Seattle, but does he want to hit there? I mean, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I wouldn't if I were him. That's one where I would leave $50 million on the table, and not to hit in Seattle, right? Even Adrian Beltre didn't hit that well in Seattle.
Yeah.
So.
We're not going to see one of my biggest nightmares was waking up the morning of the winter meetings being over and finding out that Albert Pujols was an angel and we all rolled out of bed and had to go out there and talk about this. Do you think it could go that far into the winter meetings for Soto to sign, or do you think he's got the ball in his hand and he doesn't really have to wait as long?
Yeah, I think the momentum is there. I mean, we've seen stars that go into spring training, right? I mean, the last day of the winter meetings, I could live with that. I don't know. I do think that their momentum is there, and he will sign before the last day of the winter meetings. Maybe the first day of the winter meetings, or maybe even before that. I don't know. But it feels like the momentum is there. They're already bidding, and I think they'll figure it out. I mean, obviously we've had one big signing, one huge signing already, and it feels like teams are out there bidding right now, and where I think we're in the middle of the bidding for Soto. So he's not going to go to the last day of the winter meetings, I don't think.
Johnny, what's your phone like right now? Are you just you just texting everybody, or what's going on with Jon Heyman
I mostly texted Chinch this morning. That was about it. I was at coffee, and I would say 4 out of my 5 texts were to my friend Chinch. It's early. It's early in the day. Things change so much during the day. It's almost not worth it texting somebody in the morning. It could change by the middle, and who knows? It's not easy because the situation's fluid, and I'm not going to get the whole story. They got to leave something out because you need a little mystery, right? You can't be telling the writers exactly what's going on and what every bid is, right? Then I'd be good to go in and tell the teams what the bids are. Then they're in trouble.
That's great.
That's not happening.
That's great. Johnny, man, thank you so much for coming on with us today, man. You are the absolute best. And we might be touching base with you at some point here. Again, I'll definitely see you at the winter meetings next week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, almost 2 weeks, yeah. Week and a half. Happy Thanksgiving. It's great to be on with you guys. Chinch, you're the best. Mayor, always a pleasure. I'll be happy to be on your city council any day of the week. You are the man.
Right next to me, Johnny. I have you right next to me, brother.
You're the man.
Thank you, man. See you soon, Johnny. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.